Welcome everyone for another episode of Coach's Box. We are very, very lucky today to have Claire Baines with us, who is the CEO of Hands Across Water. Not only that, she's also the wife of Peter Baines, who's about to go and embark on a 1,400 kilometre run to support children in need. So there's so many questions I can ask you today, Claire, to explore all of those things. Hands Across Water, Peter, you, all of the above.
All the things.
All the things. All the things. So thanks for being on here with us. I've only just met you, Claire, but you definitely, as lame as it sounds, put the K in kindness. You support people so much.
So beautiful.
You do so many things, but I'd love to know if you can describe yourself with not what you do, but who you are.
Oh my goodness.
Just put you on the spot.
Oh my goodness, you totally put me on the spot. Look, oh my gosh.
Maybe I'm being really mean because I know I'm getting interviewed tomorrow. I bet you I'll get some hard questions too. So I'm like, I'm going to give it to you first.
Just go. Oh my gosh. So who am I if I'm not defined by my job? Look, whenever I get asked something like that, it always comes back to, I guess, my role as a family member, be it a stepmom, a mimi, which is my term for grandma, an auntie. So it always comes back to, friends and family and just being loving and supporting and all that I can do for my family. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Absolutely. Just a lot of love to give.
A lot of love.
A lot of love to give. Awesome. And what's Mimi come from?
I felt that at 42 I was a little bit too young to be grandma. So Pete's oldest son, Lockie, they've got two beautiful kids, and I decided that I would adopt the French word for grandma, which is Mimi. I love France, red wine, croissants. Kind of made sense, right?
Oui, oui. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I should probably know what that word is, seeing as I speak some French. So let's just skip that one.
Well, maybe don't fact check just in case I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't even say that.
Yeah.
That leads me to my next question, because I know you were very much in the corporate world before you transitioned that bridge between that and then charity, and then you ended up, CEO of one. Tell me a little bit about Hands Across Water, especially for those watching who might know a little bit but might want to know a little bit more in depth.
So Hands started 20 years ago after the Boxing Day tsunami, and it was started off the back of Peter's work over in Thailand with all of the body identification. So he was part of the forensic team that led the identification of the bodies. And on his last trip to Thailand, I think he spent about 6 to 8 months over there. And on his last trip, he met a group of kids who'd lost their families, their homes, and he decided to build them a home. And very quickly, the support doubled as other charities started to pull away after a period of time. And so Hands really became a source of food, education, shelter for these kids, but also kids that were displaced because other charities had moved on. And, fast forward 20 years, we care for 300 kids. We've got operations in about 5 different projects in Thailand. And our main focus, aside from the bare necessities of food, water, shelter, our main focus is education and making sure these kids have a bright future, whether that's through university scholarships, whether that's through different community programs and training programs that we build. It all comes back to wanting to provide a bright future for kids who, just didn't get a good start to life.
Are you getting a lot of people coming through and going through that education pathway and coming back? Or what's that look like?
To date, we've got about 40 kids who have graduated from university. And some have gone on to do their own thing, and you never hear from them again, and that's okay. They've gone on to live their bright future and have families of their own. And then we've got others who, Game, for example, is the director of our home down in Bantam Nam Chai. He came to us when he was 12 years old due to family circumstances, and grew up in the home, went to school, and after school he went on to do a law degree, his MBA, and now he's 3 years into his PhD with ANU Canberra. So, there's so many different stories like that where we've been able to provide these kids the opportunities that they wouldn't have had they have stayed in the situation that they came into.
It sounds like the financial support that people are providing and the awareness really does go a really long way then.
100%. So we've raised, so in the last 20 years, we've raised close to $35 million.
Wow.
And prior to COVID, 100% of those donations went straight to Thailand. And we were able to do that because we run a business entity here that pays for all of our administration, our resourcing, etc. But unfortunately, going into COVID, all of our fundraising was wiped, as was a lot of stuff during COVID. And it just meant that we had to compromise on that a little bit. So currently, we're sitting at about 85% of donations go straight to Thailand, but still leveraging some of that to operate the charity and raise money ultimately.
Wow, that's wonderful. And how's Pete going with his fundraising journey at the moment for his Run to Remember? Because I know he's got some big goals there.
Yeah, look, it's going really well. And I mean, this is the first time we've ever launched such an epic campaign. And, you know, to put a call out to say we want to raise $1 million in one campaign was pretty audacious. We had no idea where we would be at different points. We had a board meeting just the other day and I said to the directors, I said, I'm actually really proud. We're sitting at 350,000. You know, going into December, it's just a really nice kick along. And, you know, hopefully what we do in December, you know, people will get behind Pete, they'll get behind everything that we're doing and what we're about. And hopefully we'll hit that 1 million goal.
Yes, awesome. And we'll move on to Pete really shortly. I'd really love to explore for you all the years you've kind of been involved and managed Hands Across Water. Is there one moment or a couple of moments that really stand out as really special to you or really hit your heartstrings a bit?
Oh, the babies.
The babies, yeah.
The babies. Yeah, look, my journey into Hands is, people probably look at me and think I'm Pete's wife and I've sort of come in that way. But, you know, my journey into Hands started way back in 2010 when I saw Pete speak at a conference. And I did what most people do and signed up for this crazy bike ride that that goes through Thailand, like yourself.
Yeah.
And I signed up for that bike ride, not knowing what it would give back to me, and, you know, doing it because I was, you know, in my heart, I was doing something for someone else, and I've always tried to be part of charity in that way. But just what it's delivered me has just far exceeded any expectation going into that initial bike ride. So, you know, if I think about the key moments of my time with Hands, it's definitely those first kind of couple of years when I became involved, and then later on would start dating Pete, and then obviously marrying Pete. So that's obviously a really big part of my journey and a highlight. But, you know, when I think about the impact that we have, there's probably two kids that really sit for me. And one of them is Am, who is she's an older girl now, but I've known Am since she was 12, 13. She was living at Benham Hug, and we put her through university, and she was struggling to get work. And so because of the location of where she lived and some medical issues that she had, she was struggling to get meaningful employment. Last year, we were able to employ her through Hands Experiences Thailand, which is our bicycle touring business and social enterprise operation in Thailand. And so we've been able to bring her on as an intern, and just actually next week she'll sit her final exam for becoming a tour guide. And, you know, so to watch her grow up and get that accolade is going to be pretty special. So that, I guess that's at one end of the scale, and then, you know, the other end is you know, kids like I talk about Tom Clark, who he was a young baby whose parents were very young and unfortunately left him at the hospital. He was born premature and had very little chance of survival. And our home was called, so Mayfield, our director, was called to nurse him during those final days. So she went and picked him up, and I mean, this woman literally nursed this kid back to life. And, you know, I met him, he was probably about 4 weeks born. So he was the tiniest little little warrior, we call him. And, you know, I go back there now and he is a survivor. He's, you know, he does have developmental issues. He is still learning to walk at 5 years old, but he is a champion. He is such a champ. Like, I get goosebumps just thinking about him. And
Wow.
and
He's
just,
pushed through some hard things in his
oh,
life already.
I tell you what, these kids, they've got some resilience, that's for sure.
Far out.
Yeah.
We are very lucky in Australia to have the support we have and to have the hospitals we have like at our fingertips if we do have health issues and things like that. So I'd imagine the support you guys are giving can make a difference between the worst case scenarios for these people.
Yeah, 100%.
Am I right to say there's not too much government sort of support?
I mean, their healthcare system is actually very good. If they're in the healthcare system, if they have residency and have all of their identification, it's super easy and cost effective as well. The challenge comes when we've got kids who have either come across borders or we don't have identification certificates for because their parents have either died or left them. So the challenge comes there where you go to the hospitals and they won't treat you as a public patient. You've got to go in and pay some big dollars to be seen. I guess that's just one of the battles that people are facing.
That leads me into Pete, because I know Pete's got a lot of heart too. You both put the K in kindness. So you found each other. He's doing something amazing for these kids. So tell me a little bit about that. What is Pete doing? Why is he doing it? It's a lot of steps, a lot of running. He's definitely getting his 10,000 plus steps a day.
A lot of running.
Yeah. What's it like to watch him prepare for this? It's a mammoth journey, isn't it? And I know you guys have planned for 2 years or so in the making. There's a lot behind the scenes to go into this. What's it like watching this, being part of this journey?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, going into this relationship, I would have been blind or silly to think that, you know, I wouldn't get brought into these big ideas and these big visions, because that's who Pete is, right? Like, he's got the biggest, as you say, the biggest heart, the biggest ideas, and just wants to do so much for so many people. And we've talked about the 20th anniversary coming, and we reflect on the 10th anniversary and go, right, okay, we could have done that better. And he just wanted to do something really epic. And, you know, not only to, I guess, symbolise the 20 years of work that he's done. You know, it's felt like a marathon at many times, you know, during the last 20 years. But he wanted to be able to put something out there to keep building the bright future for our kids. You know, we raise our annual operating costs are about 1.9 million a year, and we raise most of that through our corporate sponsors, big corporate sponsor NATA, and also our charity bike rides. And so, you know, that 2 million that we get will go straight into operating costs, and Pete was really clear that he wanted to raise additional funds on top of that to then build these programs, agricultural centres, hospitality training centres, to then be able to kind of go into that next phase for Hands and for our kids. So he didn't think a bike ride would be sufficient. And he just decided that he'd done a couple of ultra marathons, so why don't I run from one home to the other, and just so happens that it's 1,400 kilometres.
That's a lot of Thailand right there, 1,400 kilometres.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a lot of Thailand. And, you know, and it's funny, like when we spoke about it, I didn't bat an eyelid. I just went, yeah, okay, sure, let's do this. You know, I've got you. And I think that's just the nature of everything that we've done at Hands. You know, we set ourselves pretty big, hairy goals, and we just go, yep, okay, we've got this. And, you know, both of us together just know that, yeah, we'll make it happen.
Wow, and that's how you know that's your person, when they say, I've got you.
I've got you.
You've got this. You've got this. I've got you. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no goal too big, really, for when you have that passion, I think, as well.
Oh, 100%.
What are the main things you're kind of learning throughout this journey, through watching Pete train? And I know the start line's very in sight now, but what have you sort of noticed? Anything surprised you along the journey?
Not surprised me. Like, I've loved watching Pete really embrace the training side of things, and you know, he's been working with Maddie Abel, and that support for him has been incredible. I know training for half Ironman that without a coach, you set yourself a program, and then it's raining one day, or you don't feel like going out the next day, and so very quickly you just don't have that accountability. What's been a really good learning for both of us is having that accountability piece. So that's been great, and just really good to see Pete just benefit from the time that you put in. You know, you can see the body change, you can see the strength building up, and you go, okay, well, I know that he'll get to that start line and feel like he's done all that he could to get there. That's been great. You know, I guess from a logistics side of things, like, that's been a whole new ball game for me. Like, my background is events. I've run events for 20 plus years. I've never run a 26-day event. So it's been interesting just trying to make sure we've got everything covered, you know, and it's not just booking hotels and getting from A to B. It's, well, what's Pete going to be eating? What's the nutrition? Like, you've got to think about all of the health ramifications of, you know, where you stay and not wanting to get street food in case you get sick. I've loved it. Like, I've loved learning, but it's certainly been not a challenge, but just a task to pull it together.
It sounds like one of those 3,000 piece puzzle that you're just trying to put it all together and find out how it works, and I guess learn as you go by the sounds of it.
And then you lose a piece and you're like,
where did it go? I need that one. You can prepare as much as you can. I think you guys have done such a great job, you know, preparing for it, and I guess there's all these things that jump up at you out of nowhere as well along the journey, but I think it probably comes to a point where you go, okay, I've done the preparation. I've put the time in.
Look, I like to feel like I'm in control, and so if I've got plan A and B sorted, then that's okay. I'm ready to execute plan C if I have to. But, you know, my dad said to me, you know, why are you spending so much time on this plan? And I said, because I've got to have a plan. And, you know, going into this, I need to know what it looks like, and then obviously adapt if we need to. And being married to Pete, I know how to adapt.
That's probably one of your key strengths here.
Yes, totally. It's like, right, we're going this way.
Yeah. What's it like emotionally preparing for that? How are you feeling about him going out on that run? Where are you sitting in the feels right now with it?
Yeah, the feels are funny. Like, I'm in the busy. I'm in the space where there is so much to do that I don't have time to sit and feel.
Totally.
And, you know, I was doing just some social media stuff this morning, and I put together a reel and you know, trying to pick some music and whatever, and there's certain songs and you just start to feel it come up, and I'm like, oh, put that back down, we've got to get this done. Don't do that.
Like, I'm in the doing mode.
I'm in doing. So no, look, I think when I get on that plane next week, I'll start to feel and go, oh wow, okay, this is happening. But until that, there's just a lot that needs to happen before then. So yeah, I think the feels
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You're just using that logic part at the moment. Just sticking with that. Yeah, till it's all
I'll get
gone.
to the end and I'll be a mess.
Yeah, totally. It's a mammoth. And I guess that's the thing, and I don't want to speak for you here, but from my perspective looking in, you're doing it with him. He's obviously out there doing all the physical effort, and it's so challenging every day. You've been through the whole journey, and that's why it's so great to get your insight, because I think, every step of the journey, you're part of it, you're seeing it, and you're in the back end of it all with them. So I'm sure definitely you'll be feeling it all there when you're with him. I know you'll be on the bike and things like that as he's running, and sort of really taking it all in, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's it's the engine room, isn't it, that just keeps things going, and very, very fortunate to have my parents joining, not only from a support perspective but an emotional support perspective for me, being able to go to mum and have a hug at the end of the day when I'm feeling a bit
Yes.
is really cool. But just this morning I announced that I will be doing a little bit of running, and
Ooh.
yeah, it's totally unprepared, undertrained, don't know how it's going to work out, but let's give it a shot. But I've decided to run 351 kilometres, and that will be made up of, so day one, I'll run a kilometre, day two, I'll run 2 kilometres, all the way through to day 26.
Oh, wonderful. I was going to ask you, why is it that random sort of number? But there you go, that's why. Oh, wonderful. That's a fair distance.
It is a fair distance, so I'm pretty confident up until about the 10K, and then I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, but you know what? If you don't put yourself out there, if you don't set yourself these challenges, you never know, right? You just test yourself. You don't know what your body's capable of until you try and do it.
Absolutely, a bit like absolute big believer in that. And I think if you've done a half Ironman too, which is super impressive, I know their mantra is like nothing is impossible as well.
Exactly.
Nothing's impossible. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm sure those listening will love to kind of follow along on that and see how you go with adding that kilometre every day. That's really cool.
Yeah, and look, it might be the slower kilometres that I choose. So if Pete decides he wants to walk for the next 5Ks, I'll be like, "Yep, I've got you. I'm with you."
Coming to walk them.
I'll clock my Ks up walking. So yeah, just a little bit of fun too, and just to keep my head in a different space as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's great. That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for announcing it. So what, in terms of, I guess, the whole journey, because 26 days for Pete, is there any sort of fears that you might have, or any challenges you feel might come up for Pete?
Yeah, my biggest fear is his food and his food intake, and I try my hardest to get him to take food with him and eat good breakfast and eat good lunch, and he's very much a on the fly kind of guy. Like, he'll be happy to sit on the lounge with a tub of rice pudding and microwave dinner if I'm not home, so he's so nutrition's probably the biggest thing, and I know that when he runs, he just gets to a point where he doesn't want to chew, he doesn't want to swallow it, like he's just doesn't want to take food in. So it's about coming up with creative options to get calories into his system, to get the carbs into his system. So Mum and I are kind of working on just some different things that we can do there, and it's the smoothies, it's super dupers, it's getting all his favourite stuff to Thailand so that we can make sure he's getting all the good stuff.
Yeah, great. So you've got a plan for that too. There you go.
Totally. I think we've taken about 50 kilos of like his favourite snacks to Thailand. So it's like...
Oh, that's great. And what's that going to look like? Is that him sort of running up to the support vehicle to grab them, or is it you pegging a super duper at him?
Well, depends what mood I'm in. No. No, it's so the way we're going to structure it, we've got a camper van, so big 8 sleeper, and that will be the source of, like, that will just kind of carry all of our luggage and all the food and everything. But so what we're going to do is that will stop every 20 Ks, and that will be kind of your bigger morning tea and lunch stops. Then every 2 to 3 Ks, we'll have, so my dad will be driving the support vehicle, and he'll stop every 2 to 3 Ks. Pete can get some water, and then we'll have portioned out food so that we know how much he's getting into his system. We've got a nurse traveling with us, so she'll be keeping an eye on, how many, like, Mum will measure it all out, and then she'll keep track of what he's been eating. So it'll be like, right, here's your bento box of surprises, take your pick, and we know how many calories are in each of those. And yeah, so
excellent. It's like a little triage system you got there.
It's like Tuck Shop. I mean, amazing, right?
That's great. Oh, well done. Well done. I mean,
You
that
want to
sounds
come?
fun. Yeah, I do. I want to come just for the food.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good solution to it.
Yeah, it was actually an idea that came from Kirralie Deer, who a friend of ours who ran from Broken Hill to Sydney, and she was just saying how it allowed everybody to, like, it just took the decisions away, because you just give them this box of whatever, and Pete might go, okay, I feel like something's salty. There's something salty. So it just removes the questions and the decisions, and having to think about what you want to eat at the next stop.
Yeah, I think less cognitive load, the better for sure. Yeah, just survival mode. Get the steps done. Get each foot in front of the other. Yeah, and I guess that's the importance of a team. It'd be much, much harder for Pete to just go out there and kind of try to do it without a team, especially that triage system too.
Yeah, and a really good friend of ours, and actually someone who I rode with on my first bike ride, Greg Wallace, he's going to be running with Pete as well. So he's an ultramarathon runner and has basically said he'll do the 1400 with Pete. So, really good that he's got someone else to just share that journey with. And
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. These crazies, hey? What are they doing?
I know.
What? I feel pain in my legs right now just thinking about it. Oh my God.
Time to take a seat, Dom.
Oh my goodness, maybe I shouldn't be on the stand-up desk here. So it's obviously such a monumental run, and being his wife and you observing him, doing this run, going through, I guess, the motions and the emotions and the pain and everything that comes with it. What does that mean to you to be able to sort of witness that and be part of that support team so closely?
Oh, like it's an absolute privilege to be part of anything that Pete sets his sights on. I've always had his back, and I'll always support him in whatever he wants to do. And it has been an interesting year from a wife hat, CEO hat. So it's like, how do you juggle? Because in one aspect it's like, right, we've got to raise $1 million, we've got to do this, and this is all the stuff going on here, and then the wife part of me goes, I've got to protect you, I've got to make sure you're okay, I've got to get you from A to B, and make sure you're okay, and yeah, it has a bit of a juggle struggle.
Yeah. Are you finding how to balance between the two juggling balls, or many juggling balls up in the air then?
Maybe not well. Sorry. Maybe not well, but I've thought about what it looks like on the run, and Pete won't have to see the CEO Claire. He'll just get the CT at the end of the day and the emotional support at the end of the day. So he won't get the Claire managing the team, getting socials, doing the marketing side of things. Like, he won't be privy to that. And doesn't need to be, right? Like, he doesn't need to carry that load as well as everything else. And then it's just taking that hat off and going, okay, now I'm here for you as your wife, as your number one person. I'm here for you. So for me, it's just about finding those transitions. And you and I have spoken about just setting boundaries for me, and I think that has to come into play around work as well as being a wife and a support person.
Absolutely. And this big project is something that is new for you both, so of course you're going to have challenges with it as well, like sort of juggling that and trying to like find that space. That's off to you having to balance it and try to find your way with it and have a million roles. You're like an octopus with like all the tentacles out, trying to help everyone and do everything. So
yeah, I'll do my best. It's all I can do.
Exactly. In French, exactement. Yeah, new word for you. Okay, this one I really wanted to ask. What does success look like to you for Pete with the run? What would be a success?
First and foremost, getting to the finish line. That's the goal. Yeah,
Get it done.
Obviously, raising the $1 million would be incredible. But as I said, I feel so proud knowing that we've given it all we've got this year, and that we're sitting at 350,000 I feel really proud. But yeah, success is absolutely seeing him cross that finish line, just knowing how much he's put into it.
Can you see it in your mind's eye, him crossing that finish?
I can, and the finish line arrived today, so I can even visualize. I can set it up at home. It's there.
That's so good. Oh, that's awesome. Sports psych cup on here in terms of being able to see it, feel it, really get amongst it with your senses and imagining it can be pretty motivational.
Well, it was funny. Like, I love watching, and we both do. Like, I love watching Ironman finishes and marathon finishes late at night when you've got the people who are just coming over the line, and you've got your 85-year-old people doing Ironman, and then they come over the line and they basically just collapse, and I'm a mess. Like, I just that
isn't it awesome?
Years. And so I've been thinking about that, and it was only a couple of weeks ago that I went, we need a finish line. We need something for him, because at the moment there's nothing. So I was like, right, let's order the finish line. So,
yeah, that's so good.
And just picturing what that moment looks like for him, our family. So 2 of his kids will be there, his ex-wife will be there, and just what that means for all of them as a family unit, crossing that finishing line, going into that temple on the last day. I'm seeing it all, and I think that's probably when I start to get the feels, is just going, what does that feel like and look like?
Yeah.
And how can I make it the most spectacular, comfortable finish ever? Because if he decides to collapse on the road in Thailand, it's going to be really hot. So what do we do about that? I'm just going,
just throw the Zupa Dupas.
Yes. I'm like, do we need to have a towel so he can fall on the floor? I don't know.
Yeah. Literally. Oh my goodness.
We actually had another really exciting sponsor on board was Arctic Heat, and they do cooling vests, and you see all of the supercar drivers wearing them. And so they've geared us up to make sure we've got the cooling stuff so that he doesn't overheat, because that's one of the biggest challenges is the heat, and what does Pete say? Heat, feet, and eating. It's all the things.
That's good.
Yeah.
What about him? What do you think for Pete success is going to look like?
Same.
Absolutely. Get it done.
Get it done. Get over that finish line. We've had the conversations about who is allowed to take him from the road, who can remove him from the road. Not me, just putting that out there. So the only person that can remove him from the race or the road is the nurse. And so we've had all of these conversations going into it about, what happens if we need to cut a day short, what happens here. And so just all that scenario testing beforehand while there's no emotion in it, and just making sure that all of us, our goal is to get him to the finish. And there's going to be some tough conversations. And if we can understand how to navigate those before we go, then hopefully that puts us in good stead.
Yeah, 100%. I think knowing Pete a little bit, I know that he'd be gripping onto the road with dear life. He'd be like, don't remove me from this.
Totally.
I'm getting it done. Yeah.
Totally.
So I know why you're not doing it.
Yeah. That's how I was like, Dad, you're that guy. You need to speak to Pete.
Yeah, you're like, palm that one off.
Yeah.
Not that one. I'll do everything else, not that one.
I think it's the smartest thing, and it was advice that we had from Kiralee again, was just, I'll be able to see the pain in him, and for him to then look at me and see me in pain, that's not what he needs. He just needs someone, bring in my dad, who can remove that emotion and just go, all right, Pete, we're going to have to call it a day today, but this is the plan. This is how we're going to get you to the end. This is the plan. Absolutely. Whereas I just want to hug him and go, all right, enough's enough.
Yeah, get off there. We don't care. Just go. Stop hurting yourself. Yeah, definitely. And that's where you guys have that beautiful balance. I spoke about this with Courtney in another coaching box video. No matter how much you train for it, the demons are always going to be there. The hard thoughts. That's where training really gets you over the line, to know that it is your mind playing tricks and you're going to be okay and you can push through the demons, and some days are harder than others, and just knowing that thoughts are they're just words to a certain degree. There's a certain point where your body starts saying, oh no, this is a bit more than just thoughts here.
Yeah.
But I think he's well equipped, and you're all well equipped to know that sometimes it's just the demons in your head just telling you tricks to get you to stop.
Yeah.
So kudos to him for pushing through these hard thoughts and emotions and everything that comes with doing something so major like that and so difficult.
And he is that guy who, I mean, you know, you look at the work that he did in Thailand, and, you know, he is the guy that can put that stuff to the side, and, you know, while he might have those thoughts, he won't let them rule his end goal. Like, he will just be like, right, I'm doing this, shut up.
Yeah, he's solid. He is solid. He's got it. Yeah, I think we all really believe in him. We're all behind him. We all know he can do it, which is cool too. Yeah. But I think essentially he knows he can do it, which is pretty special.
Yeah, so good. So good.
No, there's no stopping him.
No.
What's your favourite part of supporting him so far? I know it's been a big journey, the 2 years, but has there been sort of one or two moments that really stood out as your favourite part of supporting him?
Like there's one moment I can think of, and it was on the business blueprint ride that we did earlier this year, and I think it was, for me, that was the moment when it all became a bit real. And he did a training run on the last day of the bike ride. He ran the 58 kilometres to Bantham Nam Chai, so essentially the last leg of the run to remember. And we were following, so I set out with him in the morning and got up the hill because I think that was playing on his mind a bit. So I was like, right, let's do this. I'll come with you. We'll get up to the top of the hill. Then I'll go back, get on the bike, and then ride with the group. And so we did that, got back on the bikes. And so that whole day, like, we were riding the same route, and it was like this anticipation was building as to when I was going to see him. And I think I saw him about the 40 kilometre mark, and I could see him up ahead. Oh no, I was stalking him on Life 360. So I could see that he was up ahead, and I went, okay, just got to get to him. And so I rode up, and it was just that moment where I went, oh God, this is real. Like, he's you know, a marathon in, he's still got 20 Ks to go. It's bloody hot. And I remember I touched his arm, and he kind of sort of brushed me off. And later on he said, I just didn't want to cry. He's like, I just didn't want to stop and cry. And, but I eventually made him. So, and he just looked at, like, we just looked at each other, and it was just that moment of going, oh, shit, this is real, but I've got you. We've got this. And from that moment, I think for me, I went, yeah, okay, this is happening. You know, wow. So yeah, so that there's moments like that where it brings us, like, it's brought us together. You know, sure, there's frustrations, and, you know, you don't get to do as many date nights, and you don't get to you know, exercise with each other and do as much together, because he's got this, you know, pretty rigorous training plan. But that'll all be over, and, you know, and we'll be able to get back to us and everything that we love. So just being able to watch him kind of go through that has been a privilege. Yeah.
There's some really special stuff in that. Hey, you really do feel that, and, you know, you do support endlessly, like, with each other. You really do have each other's backs. It's such great stuff to reflect on after too, that you did it. Like, and you had each other's backs, and you got through it, and you did it.
Yeah.
There'll be people who are pretty touched by this, I'm sure, and there'll be people who probably want to know more about how they can sort of support, get on board, support Pete, support Hands Across Water. What would be the first step for them to kind of find out more and to support Hands Across Water?
Yeah, so for the run specifically, you can do what I'm doing. You don't have to run 350 Ks, but you can set yourself a run challenge, and we're currently taking registrations for that. So we can drop links, share links, and that challenge is either individual or team. So you can pull a group of people together and get behind Pete, walk with Pete, run with Pete, whatever that looks like. So that's one way you can get involved. If you want to learn more about Hands, just head over to our website. We really pride ourselves on the shared experiences that we create for people. you know, we're not a traditional charity that relies purely on just donations and annual appeals. We are very experiential based. So, you know, come and join one of our bike rides, come and join one of our initiatives, and you'll get so much more back from just being part of that experience and, you know, raising the money and doing the challenge. So yeah, I just invite you to find out more and reach out to.
Excellent. And I know I'll be signing up for that run. To run alongside Pete over here, and also I'm so excited to join in with you guys for the 800-kilometer bike ride in Thailand in January 2025.
Yeah, incredible.
So, guys, it gets addictive when you know that you're helping people and you're giving from your heart, and Christmas is the right time to do it. So hopefully get some support on board. And Claire, we very much appreciate your time. I think it's so important to have that raw understanding of the background of what goes into something so huge, and you've been so open and honest with the whole process and what you've had to go through and what Pete's going through, and I think it's really helpful. And I think that more people need to be really raw and honest, and athletes in general need to be more raw and honest, that it's not just the highlights and stuff that we show, but it's the background and everything that goes into it, just to normalize it for people, and also let people know that they can do it, that everyday person can do it too. Look beneath just what you see on sort of social medias or people finishing a big task or a finish line, and look at what goes into that for that person, those victories. So thank you for giving us that insight. It really does help, and I'm sure lots of the viewers today got a lot out of that, and a lot of understanding behind it.
Yeah, and thank you, Dom, for all that you've done to support Pete this year as well. It's it's been a big part of his journey.
Just like you, it's a privilege. It's an absolute privilege to be involved. Yeah.
Absolutely.